Hey crew, it's Pitt and I'm back with some more Esoterica. Today we are diving back into the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum. We are reading aloud and discussing as we go along the various points brought to light by the text. It is not the format for everyone, but people do find value in it, so you are more than welcome to tag along as we continue our exploration. Before we begin, however, if you are unfamiliar with me, any of my unconventional beliefs, or if at any point in time I lose you in terminology, there will be several playlists linked in the corner above, in the box down below, along with the original source material, the link for my book where I teach you to do magic and live responsibly, and the links to get in contact with me directly so that you can get a better understanding of who I am and why I say the things that I do. In addition to that, instead of waiting for the wrap up, if you find value in this, please do me the favor of hitting all of the buttons down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment whether you agree or disagree. If it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. And with that being said, we are going to dive in and continue our exploration of the Theatrum Chemicum Britannicum with the sixth gate of congelation. Of congelation, I need not much to write, but what it is now I will first declare. It is of soft things, induration of color white, and co-fixiation of spirits which flying are. How to congeal thee needeth not much to care, for elements will knit together soon, so that putrefaction be kindly done. We spent a good deal of time on the putrefaction yesterday. This is the next step in the process. It's already telling me that there's going to be confirmation bias. The color white is the upper, the masculine, right? You bring the energies from the bottom up. We have been reviewing that over the last several days. And when you bring the energies up with the dark energies, you're bringing up the vices at the same time. That is how you do your shadow work. You go in, you step. Each step is another step in identifying within yourself the things which are undesirable. Where do you overreact with wrath? Where do you overreact with lust? Where do you overreact with gluttony? All the way up the steps, right? And then you get to the top up here, right, between hope and despair, finding the faith and the balance, and then you start working your way back down. When you work your way back down, you are pulling the white forces, the feminine or the masculine forces, the agents of change. And the steps that you are taking in that is you're coming down and you are balancing out your virtues. You've already identified your vices. Now it's time to timber where you were a little bit overextended into the spiritual. Bringing that down into the mortal coil because you are here for the experience. That is the white part of the process. The next step is the rubido, which is the binding together of the two. You bring from the bottom and the top, checking your balance points along the way, through the heart and extend it into the divine. That is the reddening part of it, the commixation part of it. It is where you find the green stone. And so this is already telling me that this is at least in part describing the things that I'm already talking about. So back to the text. But congelations be made in diverse wise, and spirits and body dissolved to water clear. Of salts also dissolved once or twice, and then to congeal in flexible matter. Of such congealing, follies do clatter, and some dissolveth, dividing manually elements, them after congealing to powder dry. But such congealing is not to our desire, for unto ours it is contraries. Our congelation dreadeth not the fire, for it must ever stand in its unctuous, and also in his tincture be full bounteous, which in the air congealed will not relent to water, for then our work were sent. Now, the quaternary here, we have air, we have fire, we have water, we have earth. Earth is the body, it is the temple, it is salt. Air is the soul, it is mercury. Spirit is the other two elements. It is both fire, the active masculine part that is changing things, and water, the feminine part that is being changed. One is hot, one is cool, one moves up, one moves down. The order and the way it happens that's somewhat adjustable, right? This is directly playing into what my understanding is, but other people have other understandings, right? Some people see the white energy at the bottom and the black energy at the top. Some people don't mess with both energies, and that is unbalanced. That is not a good way to practice this. If you are focused on Kundalini, for instance, that only focuses on the masculine half of things, skipping fully or 2/3 of the process. And so you're not going to get the results that you actually want from that. But that is mostly adjustable, right? The designations are somewhat arbitrary, right? I have spent a great deal of time logically assuming and assigning in the way that makes sense to me how to do it, how to work. I've written a couple of works that are soon to be out dealing with that in some specificity. But for a lot of people, this part is very adjustable. How the colors manifest to you may be different than the way that they do for me. For me, it was a direct correlation both to the visible spectrum, the audible spectrum, the way that plants and earth arranges itself. All of it makes absolute sense to me in harmonics. Other people may not have that same understanding. Right? That's where I'm trying to get with that. But there is a process, right? There is, in my estimation, it is unable to be separated from 3 parts of the process, and this book is telling us those parts, right? It is quite literally explaining, maybe in a different way than I would, but with the same steps that I did, right? I've already written the book. Before we did the study, this is confirming what I saw, what I put together, and it is confirming it in print 400 years ago. And so it's not like I'm just randomly finding these things. This is definitely some confirmation for exactly what I would look at. All right. And this is telling you that this is a process that is overgoing, right? Dreadeth not the fire is the agent of change, which is tempering your virtues. All right, back to the text. Moreover, congeal not into so hard a stone as glass or crystal, which melteth by fusion, but so that heat, like wax, will melt anon without blast, and beware of delusion. Yes, definitely beware of delusion. For such congealing longeth not to our conclusion, as will not flow and rend to water again, like salts congealed, then labourest thou in vain. Which congelation availeth us never, Adele. Heat longeth to multipliers which congeal vulgarly. If thou therefore list to do well, sith thy medicine shall never flow kindly, neither congeal without thou first yet putrefy. There you go, right? Putrefaction was the process of going up the stack, working through the vices. Congelation appears to be working back down the stack, going through the virtues. In my estimation, right, and I qualify that very lightly within my estimation, but in my estimation, this process is, right, I just said that it's adjustable, and it is, right, to a large degree. But for the most part, if you are attempting to fix the virtues prior to fixing the vices, that's going to lead to an imbalance. You are going to automatically imbalance because you have not identified the shadow side of things. That is what this is saying, right? Don't congeal it until after you have putrefied. Putrefy the vices, congeal the virtues. Then you bring them into accordance with each other through the balancing point, and that is the point of manifestation emanation. First, purge and fix the elements of our stone till they together congeal and flow anon. For when the matter is made perfect white, then will the spirit with the body congealed be. Again, I am in accordance with that. Right? That is how you bring your spirit and body into accordance. You work up and you work down. Then you can balance. But of that time thou must have long respite. And it does take a significant amount of time, right? For each part of this process, the up, the down, and the joining, I recommend 8 weeks apiece, right? 1 week in each chakra, 1 week focusing on each aspect. So in the first week, you are only focusing on wrath. That is it, right? You are pulling the energy into your base, visualizing the red, spinning in a clockwise manner, and then focusing on areas of wrath in your life, identifying where you have acted with wrath, without love, so that you can better understand and identify within yourself the triggers that cause your wrath. Identifying those triggers is how you learn to work through those triggers. And so this, again, I am absolutely in agreement with. Spending 1 week in each one of the devices going up and in the virtues coming down, and then 1 week in the balancing points, that is to me going to be fairly close to indisputable, right? Nothing is absolute, right? There are a great degree of variability in application of the process, but for me, there's not. For me, this is the way that worked, with no equivocation personally. You can do it in a different manner if you so desire, but it may not be as effective. That's not to say that it won't work, but it may not be as effective. Yet appeared congealed like pearls unto thee, such congelation be glad for to see. And after like granite, red as blood, richer than any worldly good. The earthy grossness, therefore first mortified in moistness, blackness engendered is. Moistness is the feminine, blackness is also the feminine, and so therefore in moistness, blackness engendered is again absolutely true for me. This principle may not be denied, for natural philosophers so saith I was wise, which had of whiteness thou may not miss, and into whiteness if thou congeal heat ons, thou hast a stone most precious of all stones. And by the dry lake, as the moist did putrefy, which caused in colors blackness to appear, right, and even then, right, we have the balancing. If you look really close, you can see that there is a red circle at the bottom, right? There is light red and dark red in equal measure, showing a little bit of each in the other one, right? That is the same for all of the colors going all the way up and down. That is showing the blackness in the color. That would be the dark side of it. You will also show the lightness in the color. That is the light side of it. That is the other half. The two joined together form a Vesica Pisces with this circle as the form in the middle. All right. Where were we? Engendereth, right to the most moist, congealed by the dry, and let's start at the top. And by the dry like as the moist did putrefy, which caused in colors blackness to appear. Right so the moist congealed by the dry engendereth whiteness, shining with might full clear. That is the other side of that step, right? The dark and the light both being explained right here. And dryness proceedeth as whiteness, the matter, like as in blackening moisture doth him show, by colors variant, aye, new and new. The cause of all this is heat, most temperate. Heat is the application of will, in this case, right? It is the directing of the spirit as heat to clarify. Working and moving the matter continually, and thereby also the matter is alterate, both inward and outward, substantially, and not to as doth follies to sight, sophistically, to sight sophistically, but every part all fire for to endure, flexibly fixed and stable in tincture, and physique determineth of each digestion. First done the stomach, in which is dryness, causing whiteness without question. Like as the second digestion causeth redness, complete in the liver by heat and temperateness, and so our stone by dryness and by heat digest is to white and red complete. But here thou must another secret know, how the philosopher's child in the air is born. Beseech thee not to fast at the cold to blow, and take that nether for mock nor scorn, but trust me truly, else thy work is all forlorn. That is telling you to take your time. I recommend a week apiece. Without thine earth, with water revived be, our true congealing shalt thou never see. A soul betwixt heaven and earth being, air arising for the earth, as air with water pure, and causing life in every lively thing, incessantly running upon our foresaid nature, enforcing to better them with all his cure, which air is the fire of our philosophy, namely now oil, now water, mistily. Right, now air is the will, that is the soul making the decision. Fire is the spirit that enacts the change. Oil and water, that can be the same thing. Right? Named now oil, now water, mistily. And thus mean air, which oil or water we call. Now, that's going to be a little bit not correct, right? Air is the spirit of discernment. It is the choice being made. It is you enacting inside of 5D space. Oil and water is the spirit enacting, right? The water being moved within you. That is a tangible sensation of the energies being moved that we described in the book. And so those are separated things, right? Now, you do that by intention. When you decide to move the energies, that is when you feel the water moving, and that is air acting upon the water or upon the oil. All right. And thus mean air, which oil or water we call our fire, our ointment, our sprite, and our stone, in which one thing we ground our wisdoms all, goeth neither out nor in alone, neither the fire but the water anon. First it out leadeth, and after bringeth it in, as water with water, which will not lightly twin. And so may water only our water move, which moving causeth both death and life. And water doth kindly to water cleave without repugnance or any strife, which water to follies is nothing rife, being of the kind withouten doubt of the sprite, called water and leader out. And water is the secret of life of everything that is of substance in this world ye found, for of the water everything hath beginning, as showeth in woman when she shall be unbound by water which passeth ashore afore, if all be sound. Calleth a buy-in, first from them renting, with gravose throws before their childing. So that is talking about the amniotic fluid. I mean, that is what is being described. Albidin, I did not know was the word for the amniotic fluid 400 years ago, but that is obviously what this is. Right? As floweth in woman when she shall be unbound, right, while she is having a child. That is definitely talking about the amniotic fluid. And truly, that is the cause principle why philosophers charged us to be patient, till time the water were dried to powder all, with nourishing here continual, but not violent, for qualities be contrarious of every element, till after black and white be made a union, and then forever congealed without division. And here's another one of those points where I am in contention with a lot of people, but not here. I am not in contention with this because it just gave you another one of the keys, right? There's the black, there's the white, and there's the union of the two. The union of the two is identified as the aura, the Merkaba, the spiritual envelope which holds you together. It defines your magnetics. It is clarified by these 7 steps in the middle, and that is how you enact your will into the world. If this aura is perfectly balanced, if your chakras are perfectly balanced, you do not see the colors red, orange, yellow, green, indigo, violet, and blue, right? You don't see those colors. What you see is black and white in perfect balance. It manifests itself an awful lot like a checkerboard pattern of black and white. It is almost as if that is the exact reason why the Masons are so fond of that particular pattern, even if they don't understand that. And so this again is exactly what I would be expecting. Till after black and white be made a union. Yes, that is the process. And furthermore, the preparation of this conversion for thing to thing from one state to another is done only by kindly and discreet operation of nature, as is of sperm within the mother. For sperm and heat as sister be and brother, which be converted within themselves as nature can by action and passion, and at the last to perfect man. Right now, there is definitely a bit of the process involved in the unification of souls, which is sexual congress. Whenever you are engaged in sexual congress, you are sharing your soul, even if there is not an emanation from it. And by emanation, I mean this directly a child, right? But if things are in harmony, you and your spouse are in harmony, and you are in sacred union, right? That is the preferred way. That is why I emphasize it. It is possible to do it without, but it is a lot less desirable. But if you are in union and you are doing it correctly, then you can create a child, right? And that child will be created in love and unity and marriage, and that will set the tone from the very beginning. But the process, the messiness, right? The sperm goes up and it meets the egg. And at that moment when the sperm actually penetrates through the egg and the two conjoin into one, there is a flash of light that is released. That is the insolation process. That is the new life being created from the combination of the two souls that were just being shared. Here we have it in the text. 400 years ago, not necessarily in the way that I describe it, but definitely talking about the same thing. And heat is the spirit. For sperm meets with the egg in heat, as sister and brother, right? Which be converted within themselves as nature can. Yes, yes. For as the bodily part by nature, which is consummate into man, is such as the beginner was, which, though is it thus for thing to thing was alterate, now out of kind to mend with other kinds did it pass, and so our matter spermatical within one glass, within heat self must turn from thing to thing, by heat most temperate, only heat nourishing. Another example natural, I may thee tell, how the substance of an egg by nature is wrought into a chick, not passing out of the shell. A plainer example could I not have thought, and there conversions be made till forth be brought. From state to state, the like by like in kind, with nourishing heat, only beareth in mind. Another example, here you may also read, of vegetable things to take consideration. How every plant groweth of his own seed, thorough heat and moisture by natural operation, and therefore minerals be nourished by ministration of moisture radical, which their beginning was, not passing their kind within one glass. There we them turn for thing to thing again, into their mutter, the water, when they go, which principle unknown thou laborest in vain, then is all supreme and things there be no mo, but kind within kind in number two, male and female, agent and patient, within the matrix of the earth most orient. and these be turned by heat, for thing to thing within one glass, and so for state to state, till time that nature do them bring into one substance of the water regenerate. And so the sperm within his kind is alterate, able in likeness his kind for to multiply, and doth in kind all other things naturally. In the time of this seed process natural, while that sperm conceived is growing, the substance is nourished with his own menstrual, which water only out of the earth did bring, whose color is green in the first showing. And for that time the sun hideth his light, taking his course throughout the north by night. The said menstrue is, I lay to thee in counsel, the blood of our green lion, and not of vitriol. Dame Venus can the truth of this thee tell at the beginning of counsel, and if thou her call, this secret is hid by philosophers great and small, which blood drawn out of the said lion for lack of heat had not perfect digestion. Now the green lion, the green stone, the philosopher's stone, those are all the same thing. That is the third part of the process being completed. But this blood, our secret menstrual, wherewith our supreme is nourished temperately, when it is turned into the secus corporeal, and become white perfectly, and very dry, congealed and fixed into his own body, then brust and blood to fight ye may well seem, of this work named the milk white diadem. That is the second part of the process mastered, right? To getting the white diadem is getting here and then coming back down. Understand now that our fiery water thus actuate is called our menstrual water, wherein our earth is lucid, and naturally calcinate. By congelation that they may never twine, yet to congeal more water thou may not blind. Into 3 parts of the actuate water set afore, with the 4th part of the earth congealed and no more. I do describe these things in my book in plain English. Unto that substance, therefore, so congelate the 4th part put of water crystalline, and make them together to be dispensate by congelation into a minor metalline, which like a sword new slipped then will shine, after the blackness which first will show. The 4th part give it them of water new. The 4th part is the actual projection of the stone. Mo ambipicions many must we have yet. Give it the 2nd, and after the 3rd also. The said proportion keep well in thy wit. Then to another, the 4th time, loke thou go. The 5th time and the 6th pass not therefore, but put 2 parts at each time of them 3. And at the 7th time, 5 parts let there be. Okay, so this 2 parts at each time, that is the virtue and vice, and then the 3 is going to be the balancing point. The 7th time, 5 parts let there be is confusing to me. That part I don't have the key for. Everything else I have. And maybe this is a step that has not been revealed to me. Maybe it is an overcomplication of a step that is pre-existent. Either way, I don't have the ability to talk about it, right? There are 7 steps, right? But it doesn't break down into 5 at any point in time. So it breaks down into 3. The number of manifestation is 1, 3, and 8, right? The 1 of the oneness, the 3 of the Trinity, and the 8 of the 8 chakras. That is the process and the number of manifestation. I don't know about this 7 times 5 parts. When thou hast made thus 7 times a bibision Again, thou must thou turn the wheel, and putrefy all that matter without addition. First, blackness abiding, if thou wilt do well, then into whiteness congeal it up, as shade delay, and by redness into the south ascend. Then hast thou brought thy base unto an end. Now, for me, this is an entire process, right? There is the blackness, the whiteness, the redness for the base. And then there's the whiteness, the redness, and the whiteness, the blackness, the whiteness, and the redness for the sacral. Now, I don't do it in that order, but it makes sense that you might, right? I say go through all the virtues first. I said this was adjustable, remember? What I say is to go through all the vices first, not virtues. All the vices first, and then you come back down with all of the virtues, and then you bring them into balance. But that's not necessarily the steps that you have to take. This is saying to do it in a different way. Start with the one area, the base, and then do the blackness. Okay, spend your 7 days thinking about wrath. And then for the next 7 days, you're doing the whiteness, thinking about the love. Where are you overextending into love? Where are you giving love where it is not deserved, where it should be kindness instead? Right? Then you bring those together through the meeting of. And the meeting of wrath and love is going to be kindness. You spend 7 days contemplating where you could act with more kindness, where you have acted with kindness, clarifying how that step is appropriate, right? That would be a 3-week process just for the base. Then you would move to the sacral and you do the same thing. That part is adjustable, right? I recommend doing it all in one step because that is what I have done and has been effective for me. It is easier to understand that, for instance, right, there's wrath is the first step, lust is the next one. But if you are just focusing on wrath and then you don't move into lust and you move into love, you can mistake some of the areas where you misaligned in lust with either more wrath or with love. Not understanding that the differentiation would come from the identification this is causated by lust. Not necessarily wrath. Wrath is the outflow of the lust unfulfilled, right? Then you can go through step by step through the vices because it makes more sense to identify all of the negative aspects first that you need to adjust. Then you can work on the positive aspects that you need to adjust secondarily. Then you can bring them into conjunction together as the third step, and then the fourth step is actually the practice of it, right? Doing it in continuous motion with less intentionality. Back to the text. Then is this thy water then divided in parties two, with the first party the body be putreficate, and into thy imbibitions the second part must go, with which the matter is afterwards degenerate, and soon upon by easy decoction albificate. Then it is named by philosophers our starry stone. Bring that to redness, then is the sixth gate won. And that is going to bring us to the end of the sixth gate. Hopefully, I brought a little bit of enlightenment and not too much confusion to a somewhat difficult topic. I understand that I hold some unconventional beliefs, and I do have a tendency to step on toes when I relay those. It is not intentional, but it is not something that I apologize for. I am here to bring clarification. I feel like I have. Once again, this is more of an exercise in confirmation bias, and I am learning to become more okay with that, right? I am less okay with things that are not as contradictory. I need to balance myself in that way, right? We need to be able to go through things that are saying what I want them to say, not just things for me to argue against. Some of this absolutely lines up exactly with my understanding. The expression of it is not exactly as I would have expressed it, but I don't have to hide my language. I don't have to act like magic isn't real. It is. I have healed myself. If you haven't noticed, I am going to point this out right now because a few of you will be absolutely interested in this. This is the first video that I have been able to do in 4 years in my normal tone of voice. This is what I sound like. This is not my projection voice that I have been having to use. This is me talking. This is me healed. This is me expressing myself in my natural tone of voice. This is what I sound like for the first time in 4 years. This is the natural outflow of the process that I am talking about. This process of healing, which I have enumerated in this book, and I am expounding upon. Just finished the soft edits, right? Well, really the hard edits for the second edition today. This morning before this video. I will be doing one more pass review, checking stylistic things, and then it's going for upload for approval for the second edition to be out. I have 2 more works, at least, maybe 3, that will be coming out in short succession afterwards, and all 3 of them are bearing into what we are talking about here. This ability to talk that I have right now, this ability to express myself, this healing that has finally completed, that is because of this finalization process. This was not the same 2 days ago, right? And by this, I mean my voice, not necessarily the book. The book was definitely a little bit different too, but this just happened. This is brand new. This is after the video yesterday, right? When I finalized, like the final review of this one was this morning. I finalized the 3rd book, right? There are 3 works. This one, the completion of Carl Jung's, and the as of yet undisclosed thing that is coming that is going to step on all of the toes. When I finalized that, I finished the final rough draft, or even the final polished draft. That's when this happened. That's when this final gate opened up. I guess I'm on the right track. I guess I'm doing the right thing. I'm bearing the fruit. Gotta love it. And so that's where I'm going to leave this one. If you like what I'm doing, let me know down below. Give me a like, a share, a follow, throw me a comment. Whether you agree or disagree with anything, put it in the box down below. And if it remains respectful, it gets to remain up. If you really like what I'm doing, hit me with that super thanks. Consider joining for a membership or picking up a copy of the book. You might want to wait. Right? I'm planning on releasing the second edition of this for the Black Friday sales that are coming. If you would like to wait, right? You can order this. This will absolutely get you where you need to go. It is, after all, how I did this. But there will be more elucidation contained in it. It is roughly 10,000 more words. It is a lot more information. I deliver information in a rather condensed form, and so there will be a lot more in there. And so you may just want to wait. And also, if you want to get in contact with me directly for services or just to ask questions, there's a link provided down below for that as well. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Until next time, I love you. God loves you. You are perfect, whole, and complete just the way that you are. And this has been pittstake. Peace.